And away we go. It's the DFS Early Bird podcast without Dan Strafford, but with Chris Randall. It's your old pal Emac, guys. What do you got going on here? Me infiltrating the Monday show just so I could finally get to do a show with the one and only Chris Randone. Chris, how the hell are you?
I can't believe you did that intro. Oh my God. That was great. That was great, man. What a way to kick this off. Amazing.
We got to have a little bit of fun every now and then. This is my third show of the evening. I did the live before lock NBA with Eddie, and then we did live before lock NFL with Eric, and now I'm doing this one with you. So it's been quite an evening of talking sports.
I love it, man. No, I'm excited. Listen, I told you before the show, I'm honored to be with a legend on this show tonight, and I wouldn't want anything else right now in this moment.
All right, perfect. Well, and yeah, there you go. And the moment is over. All right. What do you really want now? We're going to go game by game here, listeners. You're going to get all sorts of good stuff. At 9:30, you have the DFS strategy show on the YouTube channel. They will be going game by game. I believe it is Josh and I think it's Adam on Mondays. I know Laffy is following up with at 11 o'clock with Manny Laura for the DFS NFL strategy show, and then we have the deeper dive with Adam and Laffy. That'll be at 5 o'clock, covering the 6-game slate, and then live before lock, I believe it will be Josh and Spags, I think, is the pairing going on there. When we do these multiple crossover sport seasons, there's a lot of moving parts, and we're covering for each other as we get into holidays and sick kids and family and vacation and all that good stuff. But we get the unique pairing of myself and Chris. And we are brought to you by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. So you can look at any of my cash game building block articles. And up near the primetime player, the headline player, it'll be a paragraph telling you about how to get your $30 of Yahoo Sports Rewards points with your initial deposit bonus there. It's got the link, the promo code, and the instructions, and that is available every day. We also tuck that into any of the NFL primetime slate articles, so you can catch it there. But definitely check out Yahoo. It is a lot of fun. We'll talk about their pricing, kind of wrapping it up at the end. We're going to go through game by game here. Chris and I both mostly play on DraftKings, so we'll use that as our parameters and guidelines, but we'll call out some FanDuel stuff at the end as well. Chris, we're opening up with our first game. It is Detroit at Washington. We do not yet have an over-under here because I'm guessing somebody must be dinged up, so let me pull open my news page here. Should have done that before. We've got, let's see, Derrick Rose is most likely going to be out. He is dealing with a sore hamstring. And then we have Tim Frazier was out on Saturday night. He has a shoulder issue. And then you've got Jordan McRae and CJ Miles that may or may not be healthy and joining the Washington Wizards. So I guess they're waiting to see where the dust settles on that one. We'll assume health for the other key players here. I'm going to kick this over to you. Andre Drummond against Thomas Bryant. I think Andre Drummond wins that every day and twice on Sunday. What do you want to look at here with the Pistons?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not kind of look at Drummond in this matchup. I mean, I believe he is the highest owned center on the slate, right? Because Towns is out and Embiid's out. So, I mean, when it comes to center, he's only your high-priced option. And he's going to play 38, 39 minutes. He's been on a tear. I mean, a lot of shot attempts are going up. I mean, right now, from what we're looking at, I think he might be a must-play in cash. And for GBPs, I mean, I think you got to roster him. I mean, there's really no way you could ignore that. I mean, am I wrong here?
No, I think that's an excellent point, and it's a lesson I learned the hard way on Saturday night. So I was on air with Eddie up to lock, and we were just getting news after news after news, and it was a mad scramble. And I ended up somehow not having Drummond. My main lineup got shifted out of my cash games, and it had Drummond, and I went to Pascal Siakam. So I pretty much lost everything because I also had Bradley Beal. But Drummond came in, played 39 minutes. He had like 2 assists in the first minute or 2 minutes of the game. He ended up with just 6, but the offense was definitely No, I don't want to say flowing through him, but he had a touch on damn near every possession because there was really nobody else. He racked up another 20 rebounds and 20 points. So let's see, he's had one, two, three, four 2020 games and one 18-18 game out of his 7 games. He's averaging just shy of 19 rebounds per game, 22 points, 2.5 blocks, 2.5 steals. He has just been absolutely awesome. The Wizards literally have no one that is going to slow him down. It's certainly not going to be Thomas Bryant. And as you mentioned, it's always tough when you have a center being like your best play. DraftKings is a little more forgiving with their multi-position eligibility and different position or roster requirement slots. It's tough on FanDuel because you got one center. And that's a lot of time where a lot of the value lives. And it's not always easy on Yahoo. You got a center and a utility, but there's no multi-position eligibility. So you have to make some tough choices because sometimes, they'll have guys that are a power forward that you wish were a center or vice versa. So lineup construction can be a little tricky there. So I always try to be careful about saying, Drummond's the best play or Towns is the best play. Embiid is the best play. These true center guys. But damn, Drummond feels like the best play on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, and Thomas Bryant, he's going to have his hands full. And what if he gets into foul trouble? Then you're going to see Mortis Wagner come in, or then Ian Mahinmi.
Wagner, you got it's the composer.
Oh my God, it's just
it's not Wagner. Sorry, Bobby Wagner. He's not here. Moritz Wagner is, however.
Man, I mean, yeah. When it comes to Drummond, you're going to get a double-double. You're going to get a guy who they keep it. What I love about Drummond is that he plays the entire first quarter almost every game. And then he'll come in, halfway the second. And then majority of the time, I mean, he's playing almost the entire second half outside of maybe just a few minutes earlier in the fourth. So you're going to get a lot out of Drummond here. And when you look at the center position, you got to ask yourself, well, what else can I get from those bottom tier guys? And can it reach anywhere near the ceiling that Drummond has? And with Towns and Embiid out on this slate, and Green as well, Draymond Green, I can't see myself rostering really anyone close to Drummond in this. So I feel like he's a lock here looking at this slate early on.
Yeah. And I know we're spending a little bit more time here than we normally would, but this is also a great matchup with from a pace perspective. Washington plays, let me get it over here. They're at the third fastest pace per game, 110 possessions per game. Detroit's 16th, but they're at 104, which is pretty fast. And then from a defensive efficiency, this is like the gift that keeps on giving. Washington is the third worst in the league, allowing 111 points per 100 possessions. Detroit is 8th, allowing 107.5 points per 100 possessions. So what this means is not going to be a lot of defense. It'll be a bit of an up-tempo game, but this is definitely a place where Drummond can succeed. If we kind of move to the remainder of the Detroit side, obviously things are going to get a little thin without Derrick Rose, potentially again without Tim Frazier, but Luke Kennard is definitely someone that is always going to be in play. Markieff Morris, hey, revenge. Bruce Brown kind of had an eye-opening game in the last one, 39 points. Now, he did play 40 minutes. We won't see that again, but even if he gets a third less of his production, plays 30 minutes and comes up with 25, 30 fantasy points, he's going to be a very nice option here as well. If you're looking at the rest of the Detroit team, anybody else popping here for you?
Outside of the Drummond play, when I look at it, if Rose is out, I think Kennard's a safe play. I think he's still priced appropriately where he can hit value. But if Frazier and Langston Galloway, I think are two guys. If you're looking for a cheap play, I don't mind it. I don't mind Langston Galloway in this situation with Rose out. I think what we've seen in Langston Galloway is, I mean, he'll shoot 8, 9 times a game. But he does get you on the defensive end. I think he's averaging a steal per game. And, he does get to the line too. So for me, 2 out of the 5 games, 6 games this year, he's got to the line at least 6 times. And that's important. So at 3,200 on DraftKings, He's been averaging, 20 points, 20 fantasy points a game. So at 3,200, 20 points, you can't go wrong there.
All right. Moving along here, I'm just looking at their last game just to see the rotations and such. Stay away from Christian Wood, Thon McCurr, etc. But if the guards are out, definitely go to Bruce Brown. He played the entire fourth quarter. You can look at Andre Drummond, as we mentioned, and the other guys. I'm a little nervous about Tony Snell. He'll get the minutes. He's like a poor man's PJ Tucker. If he gets lucky and his shots falling, he can be adequate, but more often than not, he will lead to disappointment. Speaking of disappointment, that would be one Bradley Beal. And what he did on Saturday night, just ruining a perfect situation. He actually came out with, with 2.5 minutes left in the third quarter and then did not set foot on the court again because the Wizards were getting their ass kicked by 20 to 30 points most of that game. So he ended up playing just 28 minutes. He did score 30 points, but was a mess everywhere else. I think he had like 1 rebound and 1 assist. It was just a debacle. The good thing is, hey, he wasn't overly taxed on Saturday night, so he should at least be somewhat fresh again. He is the offense with the Washington Wizards. You have Rui Hachimura. You've got Isaiah Thomas, who has been a breath of fresh air. He is a usage monster when he is on the court there, but he is probably only going to play about 24 minutes after missing the better part of a season with injury and just taking forever to get rehabbed back. But he's someone that you can look to. And then, God, is there anybody I miss? Oh, Thomas Bryant. Tougher matchup for Bryant. He's 7,400 on DK. He has good games. I think the pace will be decent in this one. He's not going to... Again, I don't really think he can guard Drummond. He'll try, but I don't think he's really going to bang with him. But he could still pick up some ticky-tack fouls, and that makes me a little nervous with Thomas Bryant. Since I watch the Wizards a lot, since they're no longer are the Seattle Supersonics, that is my take on the Wizards. What does an eye from afar say about the Wizards?
I think Thomas Bryant is okay. Specifically because he gets a lot of defensive stats as well. He's going to get you blocks, he's going to get you steals. I mean, he's a great guy when it comes to the paint. So I think that aggressiveness, though, might hurt him because of the skill set of Drummond. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he could, potentially get in foul trouble. But, I feel like just the talent level of Drummond is so superior to the rest of the talent level at the center position that it's kind of hard to ignore Drummond here. I mean, he is the guy here. So I just, at Thomas Bryant, 7,400, I think in tournaments it's okay if you're multi-entering. I don't mind it. But once again, he just has no ceiling in comparison to Drummond.
All right, sending a message to Eric, who I did the show with for NFL. It looks like Mohamed Sanu had scored a touchdown. I was besmirching Mohamed Sanu's good name and mentioning that he had, like 3 career 100-plus yard games, and congratulated him on his touchdown that he was going to get to troll me. And then Eric thought that it would be a high welcome to the team touchdown since he hadn't gotten one yet from the Patriots. So choose your narrative there. He was either trolling me or Eric was right. Either way, kind of a funny moment. Looking at the rest of the team, one thing you guys are going to want to know is Troy Brown Jr. is getting healthy. So he is someone that, he has played 17 minutes and 22 minutes. He can do a little bit of everything. He is kind of like a not very polished Kelly Oubre Jr., but he is someone that the Wizards will be giving a lot of time to. Davis Bertans has been getting some minutes as well. He's not very exciting, but he is super cheap. So those would be the guys you can look at for some extreme salary savings. Let's move on here to the next one, because this game is kind of interesting. It's New Orleans at Brooklyn. We do not yet have an over-under for this one. Derek Favors, questionable. He missed Saturday with a sore knee. Brandon Ingram got bonked in the head, had to leave the game early on Saturday. He should be available to play here. What do you like? Let's start off with the visitors here, Chris. What do you like from New Orleans?
Man, I mean, if Ingram doesn't play, I think stock in Drew Holiday goes up. I think Lonzo Ball goes up as well. As we've seen in Ingram this year, I mean, I feel like he from what I've seen over the last few games, is just he has more freedom now. And he's the go-to guy. I mean, I strongly believe that he is the best player on this team outside of Drew Holiday, and he has just a pure shot. And so if he is playing, I don't mind playing him. But if he is off, I think I would gravitate a lot to these guards, because I don't think there's really one else outside of the guard play that has the ability to score like they do. So I really would love probably pairing them up together with Drew and Lonzo Ball in this matchup. Brooklyn, I think it's going to be a somewhat of a fast-paced game, because you got the 6th and 7th team in the league when it comes to pace, both New Orleans and Brooklyn. So I feel what we're going to see here is Kyrie doesn't play defense. I think we can all agree to that. He just doesn't have good defense. And Lonzo Ball, I think he can be a great facilitator in this matchup. If Ingram's out, I wouldn't mind rostering Ball. And I love the guards here from New Orleans in this game.
All right. I want to use a word of caution there with Taurean Prince. He's going to be a solid guy. He's going to play in the low to mid 30s for minutes. He actually does a decent job scoring, but in his last couple games, he's dropped, or in the last 2 games, he's dropped 11 3-pointers. That has been helping him a lot. 2 games ago, when he had the monster 50 fantasy point game, he did have a dozen rebounds. In the 3 games prior and the one after, he had a grand total of 15 rebounds. So he's had a couple outlier performances for his big days. This is a decent matchup for him, and I like him. But just know that low 30s is probably a more realistic outcome for him. Karis LeVert, always interesting, sort of a secondary ball handler along with Spencer Dinwiddie. LeVert is going to be asked to score more this year, obviously, until Kevin Durant comes riding over the rise next season. And then the other guy I like from this one is Joe Harris. Outside shooting has been solid. That is his calling card, and he is someone that generally plays within himself. He has had at least 3 3-pointers in every game thus far this season, but has only topped 30 fantasy points once. So again, a little tricky there with the upside. Anything else you want to mention from either of these squads?
I think Joe Harris is a great play. I mean, he's cheap. He's going to get you minutes. He's going to be on the floor, and he does have an outside shot. Karis LeVert, I think at 6K on DK, I could roll with him there. He's getting up a lot of shots, and he is aggressive in his offensive game. Where he does lack is on defense, and that's somewhat of a concern. But if he can minimize turnovers, I don't mind Karis LeVert at 6K on DraftKings either. This is going to be a fast-paced game, so we don't know the over-under yet. And I think once we know that, it'll give us a good understanding where the spread is, and if this is a game where we think will be close. And I think this is a game stack if you're looking to go that route. I mean, I think it's going to be real up-tempo, and I think we'll see a lot of shots get off in this game.
All right, on to our next one. We have Houston. I think they're the only team on a back-to-back. Yes, so they are on the back-to-back here. Laid an egg in Miami. They are off to Memphis. Interesting thing about Memphis this season is their pace. Over the last 5 years, they have basically been a bottom 3 team. This year, they're 4th. They're technically 3rd. They're tied with Washington with 109.5 possessions per game. Their defense is lacking, so this hopefully is a wake-up spot here for Houston. The concerning thing about Houston, Chris, is I just want to go look at their record. They've dropped a lot of games already this season. It certainly feels like that. Yeah, they're 3-3. So let's see. They had that one that they should have won against the Bucks in the beginning of the season. They were leading by 20 or whatever and ended up losing. Then they won 3 games, and they've lost at the Nets and at the Heat. Now they're at the Grizzlies. I don't know what to do with Houston. I'm still really going to like James Harden, but I think I'm actually going to give that nod to Andre Drummond. What do you like here from Houston?
I mean, this is your typical D'Antoni team, right? Fast pace, don't play defense. Last year, surprisingly, they had much better defense than what we're seeing right now through these first few games. And I would have thought that maybe Westbrook would have helped as far as just being aggressive, and it's just not happening. And so what we're seeing is a lot of guards take advantage of that. We're seeing a lot of scoring with these guards against this team. So when I look at this matchup, though, and see, I mean, I don't know what to do with Houston. They just got blown out today by Miami. And so I don't mind rostering a few guards here from Memphis. I think they got a lot of young players, which I think they'll keep on the floor. But when it comes to Houston, I think obviously, as we know, James Harden is someone that you have to decide, can he get me there? Okay. The last 2 games he hasn't. I mean, he was 10 of 31. He was 6 of 14 today. Not shooting good from 3-point land either. 2 of 16 2 games ago. 3 of 14, 2 of 18, 1 of 18. I mean, this guy, let's just look and see the numbers. He's just not shooting good right now. And I think when he's not shooting good, I think this is not the time to buy. So I know it's Harden, but in this game, yeah, they're well rested probably on the back-to-back because they didn't play much today. They're in the early 20s, I think, for all of them. So I think no. And I think Westbrook is probably the guy I want to go with, if anyone, from Houston. I think Eric Gordon is horrible at basketball now. He once had a shot, but I just feel he should be priced $3,200 on DK because outside of that, there's just no production from him. And Capella, I think he's 6,200. Yeah, that's fine. But Drummond is superior at that position. So Westbrook is my only play from here from the Houston side.
All right. So here's the box score from Sunday's game with the Rockets and the Heat. Miami scored 46 in the first quarter. Wow. Houston put up 14. The remainder of the game, they played Houston actually, let's see, 7, 4, 3, won by 3 games, the remaining 3 quarters. But a lot of that was on kind of the reserves at the end with Chris Clemens and Ben McLemore, of all people. So Westbrook played 26 minutes. He was a minus 46, meaning...
Jeez.
Rockets were outscored by 46 points while he was on the floor. PJ Tucker, defense is his calling card, not on Sunday, minus 41. Gordon was minus 23, Capella minus 29, and Harden minus 17. Now, obviously, those guys took it in the teeth the first quarter, but they did not do a lot to claw back, and actually Westbrook kept going backwards. So, yeah, potentially, we'll see. It almost might be time for a players-only meeting with the Rockets because this is just a disaster so far with their playing 500. Now there's plenty of season left. They've got another 75 games, so they can pull out of this tailspin. But yikes, that's not what you want to see there. Let's see. I agree with you on the Memphis guards. I think they're intriguing. Jonas Valanciunas. Now I got to double check. I want to see if he actually... we were joking because he had not coming into Saturday's game. He had not yet played in the fourth quarter. He did play in the fourth quarter on Saturday. He played 24 minutes. His conditioning continues to come up. He started the first, second, third, and fourth quarters. They broke up his rotation a little bit differently, probably because of the opponent being Phoenix, but they lost that game, but I'm guessing they were trying something a little bit different there. In any event, I think he is a pivot opportunity away from Drummond, but the other guys are just kind of, Dylan Brooks is adequate. Jay Crowder is reasonable. Actually, this is a decent Jay Crowder game because it'll be a little bit more up-tempo. And then Brandon Clark, surprisingly, he's been dealing with a sore back, but he has been decent for a rookie. I've been pleasantly surprised with his results, but, it's a long season, and we'll see. Moving on to our next game here, Milwaukee, Minnesota. As you mentioned, no Karl Anthony Towns serving the second game of his suspension. We do have an over-under here. We have, 230 points. Second high, we have 3 over-unders thus far, or projected point totals. Houston, Memphis was 235, 230 for this one, 223 for Philadelphia at Phoenix. We know Karl Anthony Towns is out. We know this is a great spot for Jeff Teague. Is it a good spot for Giannis Antetokounmpo, who generally does not play more than 30, 34 minutes if they're going to be winning, if Milwaukee's putting the game away, and they're favored by 6 on the road? Feels like we could have some capped upside here without Karl Anthony Towns putting up points on the other side for Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you want to look at with Giannis and his price point is see where ownership is. If ownership is really down on him, I think it's okay to buy into that and roster him in tomorrow night's game, regardless if you think of how many minutes he'll be on the floor. Um, I mean, this is a thing where we know he's going to have one of the highest ceilings on the slate, so it's hard to kind of figure out should you roster him or not, and does that give you enough roster space to fit other people in. But if he is low owned and the field's not on him much on this 6-game slate, I don't mind going to him in this situation. With Teague, however, he's 6,000, and what we saw last game, 28 minutes, 46 fantasy points, dished out a lot of assists, and so also got 3 steals. And Towns isn't going to be on the floor, and I think him and Wiggins are probably your 2 guys that you want to roster. We know Wiggins is going to shoot. The only thing that Wiggins doesn't do is he doesn't do much else besides shoot the ball. But he did have 6 assists last game. So they're moving the ball and they're rotating it to where people are getting assists, people are getting good shot attempts up. So I don't mind the guards here from this game.
Let's see. Oh, I'm just seeing some news here. Russell Westbrook. This is the first Houston back-to-back. They're saying there's a chance he could be rested. We'll have to see. Again, he played close that down, but I think he played 26 minutes. So keep an eye on that. If he's out, that boosts Harden. I still won't fall into the Eric Gordon trap, but Daniel House sort of becomes interesting from that standpoint. Anything else you want to mention from either Milwaukee or Minnesota here?
I mean, if Westbrook doesn't play, you might have to roster Harden.
Yeah, that would put. I'd still go Drummond first, but Harden gets goosed back into the situation, and you could actually
play today. What's with the NBA, man? These guys are so soft. They barely played. You would think that they need to get as many games under their belt to really figure out this chemistry and a rhythm. And you don't sit your players early in the season while you're trying to figure this out. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. But hey, we already saw Kawhi sit this game. I'm looking. There's nothing definitive. So there's a few things that say Westbrook may not play back-to-backs after coming off his whatever he had. It's quote cleaning up the knee surgery or whatever. I'm paraphrasing there, but nothing definitive. Just keep an eye on that one. We'll know before lock, but that could be throwing a wrinkle into things that we don't know the night before. So that news should come out around lunchtime on Monday. Philadelphia and Phoenix, no Joel Embiid. An exciting game that I slept through because I got mad after Bradley Beal wasn't going to play, so I went to bed. But I missed a very down-to-the-wire game. Dave Lochran, you know him best as Lofty D, was very excited that his Philadelphia 76ers ended up winning. I think he mentioned they trailed for 46 minutes of the 48 in this game before pulling it out in Portland. That's neither here nor there, but there is no Joel Embiid for yet another game here. They're going against Phoenix. Surprisingly, Philly is only favored by 1 so far with the 223 over under. Ben Simmons, very intriguing. Al Horford, of course, looks nice at 6,900 there on DraftKings. And then Josh Richardson at 4,600 on DraftKings, multi-position eligible. He's a shooting guard, small forward. So that means he is eligible for shooting guard, small forward, forward guard, and utility. So you can put him in 5 of the 9 spots. What do you like here from the Philadelphia side? Oh, and I can't bury the lead. Dario Saric, remember me? Used to play for Philly, right?
Yeah. Revenge narrative?
I don't know that it's... Yeah, he's not in the playoffs. He's with he's with Phoenix now after going to Minnesota. I think he's going to be a little vengeful. What do you like here? Let's start off with Philly first, in the absence of Joel Embiid.
I mean, the absence of Joel Embiid, I always love rostering Ben Simmons. I think it showed this past game against Portland, 47 fantasy points, almost a triple-double, and he's at 8,500. I think at 8,500, it's a must. And if you're not, if Westbrook definitely sits as well, I like Ben Simmons probably the most at the guard position. Just triple double potential, and he's obviously the majority of the offense with Embiid out. So, and he has to facilitate. And so, yeah, I love that play. And I love Al Horford too. I think at 6,900 with Embiid out, I don't mind it. 47 points last game. Was crashed the boards obviously and passed the ball around, but he also was on the defensive side, which I liked a lot. And so for me at 6,900, I think he could definitely hit value. And if you want to play him at center on DraftKings, I don't mind that either. But for the power forward spot, if we're talking FanDuel, I don't mind that as well.
All right, and then I don't know, probably a late slate only, but you've got Matisse Thybulle, Mike Scott, Tobias Harris actually a decent play on all the slates, but if you're looking for some late slate salary relief, Tybal and Mike Scott are probably where you can go. On the Phoenix side, Kelly Oubre 6,300. He's been very good this year. He's taken that next step. He's one of my favorite players, especially with the Wizards, but he is still pretty inconsistent. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but I don't hate him in this spot. I'm good with Rubio, adequate with Saric. I think Frank Kaminsky is a reasonable play. Veteran, going to get a lot of minutes, plays within himself. Always going to be in the mix for 25, 30 fantasy points. Upside is if his shot is falling or he sneaks in a couple of blocks. Yeah, I guess these guys are still all secondary plays for me. Anybody pop for you from the Phoenix side?
I like Rubio. I like Oubre. I think this game, what Vegas is showing that it's going to be competitive, and you're looking at two high-paced teams. I mean, Philadelphia is the fifth highest-paced team so far this season, and Phoenix at 11. So I wouldn't be surprised if this does stay competitive and it's up tempo. And yeah, I mean, I think the guards are definitely in play. I think this is a guards game with this matchup. And I love Oubre as well. I think Oubre is a good call. I think he's still somewhat cheap, somewhat on DraftKings, but last couple of games he's been a little bit of a disappointment. But I still think he can get there.
All right. Last game of the night: Portland at Golden State. God, Golden State is pretty much lost literally everybody. Curry out with broken hand. Let me see. Do we have a Draymond Green sighting? Yikes. Do you have any news on Draymond Green?
I think from what I last saw, he was out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be as well, but
they said the next few games, so I'm pretty
sure.
Oh,
it is a torn ligament. I didn't realize it was a torn ligament. I just thought it was an issue. Okay, yeah. So he says miss the next few games. This is from Roto World. Says this is just a nightmare for the Dubs. That's a story for another day, but just add Eric Paschall in standard leagues. Hey, we can play Eric Paschall in DFS. He is 5,000 even. I'm tepid on Willie Cauley-Stein. Glenn Robinson the third is roster fodder. Rodney Hood coming in at 37. Oops, did I not change the? No, there he is. Rodney Hood coming in at 3,700. Seems reasonable. He's dealing with a bruised thigh. Hassan Whiteside missed on Saturday, but he is expected to play with a sore knee. And then D'Angelo Russell, sprained ankle. He sat on Saturday, questionable, likely to be a game time decision. Man, even the guys they brought in are hurt. This is wild. So Damian Lee, Jordan Poole, Alec Burks, these are your Washington, or pardon me, these are your Golden State Warriors. Yikes. What do you want to do? What do you want to do with the Warriors? First off, let's assume D'Angelo Russell is out.
I think the Warriors might be the worst team in the league now. I think they're just really bad. D'Angelo Russell would probably be the only primary option. I think his usage goes up even more now if Draymond's for sure out, and if he's healthy and he does play. I mean, he put up 24 shots against San Antonio. So I can only imagine if Draymond's not on the floor too. I think, and you're looking at I believe they give the third most fantasy points to the shooting guard position in Portland. So I don't mind him at all. The rest of the guys, I think it's just plug and play and hope for the best. If you're looking for some cheap guys, I don't mind Lee. I don't mind Poole. I think all these guys are just, secondary options. I don't see anyone as a primary option here. On the other side of the ball, I think you got to worry about maybe blowout potential here, but I love the guards. I think Lillard and McCollum are fine, and I don't mind Whiteside either. I'm trying to figure out, can anyone really guard him? But the thing I hate with Whiteside is he only gets like 24, 25 minutes, and so you need him to do that much. But at 6,400, if he can get us 30, 35 fantasy points, I think he's okay.
Yeah, and depending on what the spread is, if you're feeling a little frisky there on some of the later slates, you could construct some teams with some Anthony Tolliver, Anthony Simmons, or Skal Labissiere in the hopes of a little blowout run. That's actually not getting cute if they do a 2-game or a 3-game late slate there. Let's look at a couple other sites here for pricing. Looking at some of the value guys that are popping here on FanDuel, you've got Jonas Valanciunas at 5,700. That's a decision point that is going to be intriguing when looking at Andre Drummond, who is twice his price. And that's, again, the unique part that comes into play over there on FanDuel. You have Dylan Brooks at shooting guard at 4,400. That's some salary relief. Troy Brown Jr., small forward, at, 37. He's probably going to play somewhere between 16 and 20 minutes. You've got Rui Hachimura coming in at power forward. Always tough to give away your power forward spot, but he has been kind of the secondary guy right there with Thomas Bryant for offense behind Bradley Beal. We've got prices kicking up there on Jeff Teague. Langston Galloway, shooting guard at 3,800. If Frazier is out, then he is definitely going to be in the mix. Anybody popping for you on FanDuel? I know you like to. Do you? I know you play FanDuel for some of the sports. Do you do basketball over there?
Yeah, I mean, I think FanDuel is my. I think right now I'm using them more than DraftKings just a little bit.
Ah, okay. I was
Yeah,
aware.
so I mean, Giannis is 12K, Harden's 11, and Drummond's 10-6. So of those three guys, if Westbrook's out, I think I would want Harden, but I really do like Drummond because when I look at it, then I don't know if I really want to pay 78 or 76 for Capella or Bryant. And then you're looking a little bit down. I don't really think anyone else gives you anything. I think what you mentioned earlier about Dylan Brooks, there's Wesley Matthews. I think Poole and Lee will be in play if Russell's out. So there's like a couple guards you can flirt with there with the low price points. And then small forward, I mean, if let's just say Brandon Ingram doesn't play, that might put you in a predicament of maybe you do have to play Giannis here because, a Giannis and someone cheap at small forward might be the way to go for that position. And so then you got to probably look and say, okay, maybe I'll pay down at guard because Jeff Teague is 6,200. Rubio 68, Lonzo 74. Spoke on him earlier, and so it's going to be interesting. But I think obviously now we got to wait for a few things. But you're going to have to play one of these guys of the three: Harden, Giannis, or Drummond. I think on a 6-game slate.
All right, and that's a nice segue there over to Yahoo, presenting sponsor of the Early Bird Podcast. Those are the three most expensive players. It looks like I thought 54 might be their cap, but Harden's up to 55. Giannis 54, and then Drummond at 50. That's going to be a tough ask there to get two of those guys in. It will still be possible because Yahoo does have $10 is their floor priced plays. But you've got Dylan Brooks, Markieff Morris, Isaiah Thomas, Davis Bertans, Jordan Poole, Langston Galloway. Those guys are all 10. Damian Lee is 10. Bruce Brown is 12. Joe Harris is 11. Those guys are good and they'll help you get the top guys, but you don't really want more than two or maybe three of those guys because generally they're priced at 10 for a reason, and the reason is they don't score more than 20 fantasy points over there on Yahoo with much frequency. So that is the trade-off. You want to be careful. And then Gorgie Jang at 12. What did he end up doing? I'm blanking on what he did Saturday night because I was just so angry when I went to bed. I did not care. Why can't I spell his name? Do you?
Yeah, he played 24 minutes,
Okay.
and to be honest, and actually he performed. He's 7 to 9 from the field. He had 2 threes, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals. Um,
Yeah, so he was pretty damn
obviously,
solid.
this is our early look, and so I kind of like Dane. I'm not gonna lie. After kind of seeing that, I mean, if he's able to do that in 24 minutes, there's a lot of value there with his cheap price point.
Yeah, now he was a surprise start because we didn't know he was going to start until shortly before that game, and he kind of came in out of nowhere. So we'll want to make sure he's starting again, but he is someone that could get you a little salary relief. But that's where it gets real tricky because he is center only on FanDuel and Yahoo, and then power forward center a little easier to work in on DraftKings. But that could be some potential value there as well. We've already hit on the top end plays here for Yahoo, so it's kind of the same across the sites. A couple other guys that are $10 if you're playing some of their later slates. So the fun thing about Yahoo is whenever they do a slate, and they usually do it at every start time for games, they include everything through the rest of the night. So where FanDuel and DraftKings sometimes do their express slates and just do 2 games and then do 2 later games after that, Yahoo would do all 4. So a lot of times it's good to know guys like Mike Scott, Dario Saric is 14, Anthony Tolliver is 10. This is where, granted he's in the first game, but this is where somebody like Tony Snell, if that was the late game, would come into play. So you just want to keep an eye on some of the other nicely priced guys out there just because it's a fun little nuance. And the other thing is, over on when they run their later contests, generally they're smaller, and you can usually have, depending on the size of it, one to 5 entries in it. They don't fill. They usually go off about 85-90% full. And if you're willing to have constructed a team, and yeah, you're only going to get 10 or 12 bucks in play, but it's 10 or 12 bucks in play that doesn't have rake on it, and because there's room in the contest and you got less people to beat. So just think of it that way. It's fun, and if you're able to understand their unique salary system, you've got an advantage, and you're not going against the Alex Bakers of the world, because they're not putting in 1, 2, or 3 lineups in the $2, $3, and $4 contest. It's going to be you, and then the lobby bosses that hang around there that are guys like you and me. So it's not they're not unbeatable. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here, Chris?
No, man, I think that's it. I mean, there's a lot that we have to look at, but I mean, looking at it early on, you kind of know some guys that definitely have potential for this slate. And I think, Vegas stats need to come out. I think injury reports need to come out. But yeah, 6-game slate. So when this happens and there's superstars with high ceilings, you generally like to gravitate there because it becomes a little bit more concentrated than a bigger slate. So it'll be interesting tomorrow.
Yep, it'll be a good one. A lot of moving parts for just 12 teams in action. Again, we've got you totally covered. 9:30 is the DFS NBA strategy show. 11 o'clock is the NFL strategy show. 5 o'clock is the deeper dive with Laffy and Adam. And then 6 o'clock is live to lock with Chris Baggs and Josh Engelman. With that, gamers, we are going to get on out of here. Chris, what is your Twitter? Do I not follow you? How do I not know your Twitter? Is it at Chris Randone?
Damn, man, you don't follow me?
I don't know. We're going to find out. What is your Twitter?
It's just Chris Randone.
Let's see. Oh, yes. Oh, we actually follow each other. Yeah, there we go. All right. So you're at Chris Randone. There's an E on the end of Randone. I am at EMACDFS. And of course, it is Awesemo_COM. And if you're not going to go look at Chris's profile picture, I guarantee you're going to get a chuckle out of it. I'm not even going to say what it is, but if you don't laugh, your money back. With that, gamers, good luck.